Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today. And we're going to be talking about another potential signing for the Houston Texans when free agency does start in a month and 2 weeks from now. Free agency starts on March 15th. It is February 2nd. D'Amico Ryans had his press conference today. It was very long, 45 minutes, but I sticked out all the way to the end. Really enjoyed it. Thought a lot of things of him. Definitely, definitely in the last 2 years between David Culley and Lovie Smith, I haven't heard the amount of confidence and the amount of enthusiasm as I heard from D'Amico Ryans as our head coach today. I didn't watch a lot of Lovie interviews, but I did watch quite a few, maybe 3 to 5 interviews when he was our head coach, and he never gave the passion and the enthusiasm and the confidence that D'Amico gave in his first press conference today, and his confidence in the way how he's excited about to develop our players and bring a path, and he knows it's gonna it's not. And Nick Caserio said this. This is not gonna happen overnight. This is a day to week to month process, and it's going to start with our draft capital. It's going to then with the draft you have 2 first round picks. You got a lot of picks after that. You also have way other stuff with cap space to spend in free agency, which we're going to talk about today. You got way other stuff. And D'Amico said, we have to add in some players. We have to develop our young players, and we want to win. And he said, I want to bring a Super Bowl to Houston. And I never heard that kind of thing with David Culley or Lovie Smith. I never heard them say, we want to win a Super Bowl. Didn't seem like they had that kind of confidence. I think, deep down inside, I think D'Amico knows we're not going to be great this season, but I think he knows he has the time, and it's not like if we go 5-12, he's not going to be fired because we believe in him. Now, I don't think we're going to go 5-12. I think we're going to win at least 6 to 8 games this season, just because of how good of a coach I think D'Amico will be, and I think how much we'll improve. But in that case, I do think that definitely if D'Amico and this team develops really well in the 6 years that he has on his contract, D'Amico definitely we could bring in a Super Bowl. I don't know if it happens, but who knows? But definitely D'Amico was right where he was going with. We need to add in some players. We need to continue to develop our young players. And when it comes to with cap space, Cal McNair, our owner, he did say today that we have cap space. We have the ability to bring in some guys in free agency. And, we see a lot of times when defensive coordinators or offensive coordinators or whatever it is, when someone leaves an organization, sometimes you see players follow them. And there are some 49ers free agents. You got starting with Garoppolo, which I don't think the Texans will be interested in him, but just had to say Garoppolo because he's probably the biggest free agent for the 49ers. Some other defensive players that are free agents for the 49ers. The one we're going to be talking about today is Jimmie Ward. Also, Samson Ebukam is also a free agent. And like him, he's a nice defensive end. That's a position that the Texans need. So you got 2 guys right there that are free agents were on the 49ers. Definitely, D'Amico is one of those guys where there were players that liked him so much in San Francisco that they will follow him to Houston. And there's been some stuff going on with Jimmie Ward that it seems like he's not going to return to San Fran. He said something about he went to Kyle Shanahan and said he wanted to get out of the nickel position. And he was like on IG Live, and he said something about how, so you want to go on the bench or something. And so I definitely think that Jimmie Ward is definitely going to be leaving the 49ers. And what would be the best place? reuniting with your defensive coordinator. Definitely, DeMeco is a great guy to want to reunite with, and I think Jimmie Ward could be a guy that would want to sign with Houston. Jimmie Ward had a good season, 35 tackles, 3 interceptions. He's a good safety. I have been thinking for a while now that the Texans need to add in a second safety. I love Petrie, and I think Petrie is going to just continue to develop like DeMeco has said. Our players need to develop. But when it comes to another safety next to Petrie, I like Owens. I like Jonathan Owens. Don't get me wrong. His fiance is very popular as well with Simone Biles. City of Houston loves her, and I think he's going to stay on this team. I think he'll be a great backup for this Texans team, but he's just not a starter to me. He's not a starter for this Texans team. And Desmond King, I've always liked Desmond King since the day the Texans signed him, and he had a pretty good season with the Texans last season. But I think where DeMeco wants to send this defense in the direction is where next season it can get into top 10, top 7 defense in the NFL. Ultimately, I think DeMeco wants to send this defense into top 5 in the NFL. And I just think that Desmond King as safety, I just don't think that he's the guy for the Texans to be the second safety. And Jimmie Ward is a guy who is a great defender. He'll lock a wide receiver down and play great defense. And he's a guy who got a lot of interceptions last season and limited play because I do think he got benched because he wanted to switch positions. But in that case, I do like Jimmie Ward and adding him into the defense and improving this defense. I mean, that's not the only way you have to go around. You add in Jimmie Ward, you have them in as the safeties with Jimmie Ward and Petrie. Now you have Stingley back at the lead corner. I don't know who was the corner 2 last season at the end of the season, but what I do know, guys, is that definitely we need to bring in another corner on the other end. And I think the Texans bring in a corner in the draft, sometime in the draft, 3rd or 4th round, something like that. They draft a corner to be a good corner next to Stingley as the second starting corner. So I don't know who that would be. I haven't really looked at anybody in the draft. I know it's not going to be in the first round. I don't think it's going to be in the second round either. I think in 3rd round or 4th round is the area where the Texans draft another corner and add in another corner with Derek Stingley. And then with defensive end in the linebacker positions, I think that's where the Texans look to add in talent in free agency. But between then, I think that's where the Texans look to add in talent on the defensive end, D-line, and linebacker position in free agency. Also, that's where I see them trying to add in maybe some O-line help. But I think Jimmie Ward is a great fit for this Texans defense. He's a guy who knows DeMeco very well. And I think that he would definitely fit well with this Texans defense, and we'll see if it happens. I think you're definitely going to see at least 1 or 2 guys that is from San Francisco, whether it's coaching staff or it's players. I think you're going to see at least 2 to 3 staff members and players reunite in Houston with DeMeco. You usually see someone. You usually see someone come to reunite with their old coach. I mean, I remember in New England, in Miami and Detroit a couple of years ago, 2018, 2019, and this really hurt New England back then, and it took them a little while to develop back, but they had who was absolutely a horrible coach, but did have some players carry on to Detroit and leave New England and join Detroit. I don't remember the players, but I know there was quite a few. But Matt Patricia left the Patriots and went on to go and become the head coach for the Lions. And then you saw a bunch of players leave the Patriots and join the Lions. And then I think if not the same year, I believe that was the same year. If not that was the following year. Brian Flores, which this was ultimately ended up turning into disaster with the Dolphins, goes to the Dolphins, and you see a bunch of Patriots players join him down in Miami. So I do see maybe at least one or two players and probably one coach or one staff member joining this Texans team and reuniting with DeMeco. He was definitely a very respected guy down in San Francisco, and I think the best odds for someone reuniting player-wise with DeMeco in Houston would be Jimmie Ward. It's a position the Texans need. It's he wants to get out of San Francisco. I would bet after some of the stuff that happened there and at the end of his time there, and I think that a good fit could be for the Houston Texans. And you guys, let me know your thoughts, and that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts, and peace out. Go Texans.